Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. This is Matthew Moody from Penrith&Solway constituency, standing for Reform UK. Now, I want to do a video today on our immigration policy, or promise, or contract, as we like to call it, with people, because this keeps coming up time and time again in terms of what would we actually do to stop immigration, at least get it back to levels that we can cope with. And whilst in Penrith&Solway, we don't necessarily have as much impact on the area itself because we're not in the London, the southeast. We are still affected by it, both in terms of pressure on our public services, pressure on housing, pressure in terms of being able to get access to hospitals and doctors and dentists, etc. So let's have a look at the policy. I will share my screen and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so you'll see on the screen right now our policy for managing immigration. And the reason we want to do this, and we've said this all along, is this is not about stopping immigration full stop. This is about taking some time out, regrouping, rebuilding, and then going again. Because right now we have had 10+ million people come in over the last 10 or so years into an infrastructure and public services that literally cannot cope. So this is about securing our borders to boost your wages and protect public services, and also, very importantly, British culture and values. So the first thing we're going to do, and what we like to do with all of our policies and our pledges, is split them into what we're going to do in the first 100 days, those critical reforms that actually have to take place in order to make the next step happen. And then after that, what we would then do. So in the first 100 days, what would we do? The first thing we would do is freeze non-essential immigration. So we put very strict limits in terms of who we want to come into the country. What type of workers do we look for? We're very much focusing on essential skills, mainly around healthcare. There will be a bit of exception for that. But if we need specific skills in specific sectors, then we'll have a grown-up, sit-down conversation about it and have that in terms of an actual limit of the number of people that can come in. Because what this does is it relieves pressure. As I said earlier, housing, public services, increases wages, and it also protects our culture, identity, and values. The second thing we would do is stop the boats. Now, as we've seen from successive governments, they've not been able to do this. They've talked the talk, they've broken multiple manifesto promises, particularly the Tory party, and they've failed to deliver. What we would do is very simple. It's a 4-step plan. First of all, we'd leave the European Convention on Human Rights. Now, before I get into the other points, I just want to pick up on this because there's some confusion out there about, oh, we're just going to get rid of European human rights. No, we're not. What you have to realize is the European Convention on Human Rights is a court in Strasbourg that we're a member of. In fact, we helped set it up, and there is a British judge that sits on it. However, we also have our own judiciary in this country, and we also have this thing you may have heard of called the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the land to which decisions can go to. Now, what's happening is when successive governments, such as the Tories, have tried to stop immigration through doing various plans, taking people back, the Rwanda scheme, etc., they've been blocked by the European Convention on Human Rights, who've said, no, we don't like that. We're going to say no to that. Sorry, you need to stop what you're doing. What this does is it makes it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to protect our borders. And my opinion is the first duty of any government should be to protect our borders. Because if you're not doing that, then what else are you actually doing? If you can't manage that, then clearly the rest of the country is going to go to pot. And as has been seen, the country is going to pot and continues to do that. So it's very important that we leave this. But this does not mean that we do not have any human rights. Of course it doesn't. In English law, we all have rights under English law, dating right back to the Magna Carta. Every man, woman, child has basic rights under law to be treated in a certain way. Those rights are not being taken away. We also have a Human Rights Bill, which We want to make some amendments to it because some of it is frankly ridiculous, but we do have a human rights bill as well. And we have various other bills and regulations that protect the individual. So we're not getting out of any EU rights. We're not getting rid of human rights. We're effectively just moving away and rescinding our membership of a European court that has basically failed to keep up with the times and is now clamping down on what we want in Britain to secure our country. So that took a little bit of time, but I need to get that out there because it's a question that comes up time and time again. The 4-point plan. So that's first point. Second point is 0 illegal immigrants to be resettled in the UK. 0. None. None at all. We're going to turn them back and we're going to send them back. We're also going to set up a new Department of Immigration, specifically focused on managing immigration, both legal and illegal, going forward to make sure that we don't get into this situation ever again. And the fourth one is we would pick up illegal migrants out of boats and take them back to France. Well, clearly France will not like this, but we pay them a huge amount of money every year. It's over 200 million, I believe, to protect our borders for us, and they don't do that. Now, some of the other things we're going to do will also become a deterrent going forward. I'll get onto that in a moment, but the 4-point plan will stop the boats very, very quickly, because the other thing that comes in line with that is all illegal migrants that are currently here and the ones that keep coming during this transfer time where they're still coming will have secure detention. They'll be processed rapidly, as much offshore as we can, and if you're entering from a safe country, you'll be barred from claiming asylum or citizenship, because we've had many people try to do this. And there should be no legal aid whatsoever for non-citizens, as opposed to right now, got balmy human rights lawyers running around here, there, and everywhere saying, oh, we've got to give them help and aid, and they're giving them free aid, paid for by the public, out of the public purse, for non-citizens. Anyone rejected will be returned. Now, clearly, there are people escaping from war-torn areas. There are people who are escaping abuse, and we clearly have a duty to help those people. But there are many that are not. And certainly, I would argue vociferously that if you can afford 3,000 or 4,000 euros, dollars, pounds, whatever it is, to pay an illegal people smuggler to get here in the first place, are you really escaping from an area that has issues, whether it be war, famine, disease, etc.? Or are you just looking to come here because everything is free? And that's another thing we'll come on to. This is all about being tough. This is about being tough. It's about making tough decisions. None of the other parties seem to want to do this. The fifth thing we'll do is deport immediately all foreign criminals. We have thousands of them in our jails, and they're taking up valuable jail space. They just need to be gone. And for the ones that are nearing prison sentences, they need to be taken out immediately. Any immigrants that are committing crimes, with the exception of obviously some misdemeanors like, I don't know, running a red light or something like that, they need to have citizenship withdrawn. We need to be really tough on this to make people aware that if you're going to come to Britain, you have to abide by our laws. They do it in other countries in the world. I don't know why we don't do it in our country. We also need to be very firm on student dependence. There are lots of our students in England, funnily enough, because it's really popular, particularly for the universities, but we can talk about that in another video and why it may be popular. There's a lot of our young people that go overseas to study abroad for a year. Do they take their mum, their dad, their sister, their fiance, or whoever with them? No, they go on their own. But we're seeing thousands of students coming over, bringing student dependence with them. So we'd introduce new visa rules for international students that bans dependence. Only international students with essential skills can remain in the UK after their course ends as well. Because we're seeing lots of students coming over here studying Mickey Mouse degrees that don't contribute anything to our national GDP or anything in general, and they're settling here afterwards. We've got to get down these fake courses, and we've got to make sure the immigration schemes that are abusing the rules are shut down. The next point that follows on from this is stopping health tourism and immediate access to benefits. This in itself is the biggest deterrent of all. People are coming over from all across the world because everything is free here. Free housing, free money, free benefits, free healthcare. We've got to stop it. It should be for our citizens and our citizens only. When old people and veterans and people that urgently need medical treatment cannot get seen because we have illegal migrants taking up those places, it's got to be stopped. We've got to be firm about it. And the last piece is the employer immigration tax. Now, we recognize that there are certain specific specialized skills that do and have in the past attracted people from overseas to come and work for us. But we very much want to dissuade that as much as possible so that young people here and older people can be persuaded to take on those jobs. So we'd increase national insurance to 20% for foreign workers. Now, this incentivizes big businesses to employ British citizens, where national insurance would remain at what is, to my opinion, still too high, but 13.8%. We would exempt, obviously, certain people from this, such as foreign health and care workers, businesses who employ 5 staff and under. But what this does is it really boosts wages across the economy, and it makes sure that we can raise tax over a period of time to pay for apprenticeships, training for young Brits, etc. So you see that our immigration pledges savings around 5 to 10 billion per annum in terms of doing this. And our employer immigration tax will raise around about 4 billion. Now, each of these in isolation, when you look at the savings and the costs, each pledge itself doesn't necessarily add up. We've got to put them all together and work together in order to see the full picture. So over the next few days, I'm going to be recording more videos talking about each of our different pledges and giving you a little bit of a flavour and going into detail about what we're aiming to do. What I would love for you watching this, listening to this, is put a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with, because I'm keen to know. And also, unlike the other parties, what we do is we take on board feedback very seriously. If someone brings something to our attention, feeds in something to us, we send it on. We're very, very keen on making sure that we can interact with members of the public who have got their own unique insights into this and amend and change policies as it becomes appropriate to do. That was the immigration pledge. I'll be talking about another pledge in another video. Until next time, this is Matthew Moody from Penrith&Solway constituency for Reform UK saying thank you for watching and listening, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.